everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your Aunt Mary Albrecht. Do we both go back and forth? What do we do with the cameras? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your Aunt Mary Albrecht.
And I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht. And today we get to speak with an old friend, we could say at this point. She's been on our podcast a couple times before. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I guess it is old. But this is a really special guest to us, and we know that she's been through a lot with her family, and she's come on and talked about a lot of different topics, and always has an amazing attitude despite all that, at least with us and everything, and we appreciate that from her. So if everyone can just please say hello to Delores. Say hi, Delores.
Hello. Great to be back with you, ladies. Yeah.
It's always good to have you on.
Delores Garcia was on our show, first appeared in April, and we connected with you from the book 365 Days of Self-Love. We reached out to various authors, and you said you would be interested in speaking with us. And we talked, our topic then was called Subconscious Reprogramming, that aired April 4th, 2022. And can you just give us a couple sentences about what that is again to remind the audience of subconscious reprogramming?
Yeah, subconscious reprogramming is the type of, I guess, life coaching that I was certified in, and really digging into the programs that we have from our culture, from our family, from the things that we experienced. So these are kind of our automatic programs that rule our life. And so about 95% of, the thoughts that we have going on are really stored in our subconscious. And so to change just your conscious thoughts is very minimal of an impact. So really going deep into subconscious. And
this is right.
What's that?
I'm remembering the 95% thing, saying like, it's all about mind over matter. Well, not really if you don't go into the subconscious. You can't just consciously make yourself forget or make yourself change without dealing with the subconscious.
Well, and, us three here are... We're close friends of the word healing and trauma and wounds, and all of those things are really kept in the subconscious. And so if somebody's really going to try to do healing, they have to attend to what is stored in their subconscious. Yeah.
You have to. And that's interesting because now the studies are also showing not only is it stored in your subconscious, it's stored in areas of your body.
Yes.
So you've got the physical pain, areas in your shoulders, neck, wherever it manifests in your body, which I kind of call sort of a subconscious thing too, because you have to pay attention to that the same as you have to pay attention to your subconscious. And you need to actually consciously do the subconscious.
Well, and I really like that picture. What I feel is that our subconscious is trying to get our attention through the physical issues or challenges that we have in our body. So yes, I think that there is a huge connection, and our subconscious may not speak to us consciously through our thoughts, but it speaks to us, it manifests, demonstrates what is stored in the subconscious through the physicality of our body. So yes, I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, and that's really becoming more accepted across therapeutic models, that everyone's always said the mind and the body are connected, but I think it's really becoming more of a specific, no, your knee hurts because there's trauma there it was a weak spot from an injury, but then the trauma in your life gravitated toward the weak spot and it's trapped there and it doesn't have the way out that you can get unless you reprogram your body and your subconscious. So
yes,
that works with ankles too.
I think it works with ankles. Yes,
Yeah.
Hmm,
yes, yes. You have a lot of, you have terrible
I
ankles.
do.
Yes. And so, you know, you attend to the physical healing of that, but you want to take it up to a higher level of really going into, and there's a lot of different approaches and, you know, ways to attend to that, but what is the subconscious message of that? What was going on in your life when you originally sustained that injury, or when you started noticing that the ankles were weak? Yeah, there's a lot of connection there.
Now that's
Okay,
fascinating. That's a
that's,
whole nother show.
I mean, so I mean, but let me think about this real quick. So
Yeah.
the first time I remember spraining my ankle, which it's been a lot.
Mhm.
There's I still do it to this day from time to time. I think I was in about fifth grade, and my dad was the coach of my basketball team, and I already wasn't having a good time with him as because he would show up drunk to practices, and there was already a lot of embarrassment happening there. And I mean, I don't know if this is fully related. Maybe it's because it caused me to not be paying attention, which that is what caused the ankle injury. Because when I focus on it, it doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. I mean, it's possible that I was going through a lot of mental trauma at the time, and because of that, had an injury that I now get for the rest of my life. It
Yeah.
seems like.
Well, and the thing is that you do some inner work of taking care of that fifth grader and
Yeah,
doing the inner work to because that's if that truly was the original injury or incident, then that's a good place to start. And you know what? If that was the first thing that jumped into your mind, Katie, that is like we got a lot of. I mean, you totally trust that. If that was the first thing, there may have been previous incidences, but you just start there. That was the first thing that came to your mind. 99.9%. Let's start there.
Think about a
yeah,
fifth grader with your dad showing up drunk. Everybody noticed, most people,
Yeah.
right? You could tell he's
he
drunk with
also
kids.
wore questionable shorts too. That it might have been there.
Yo, he did that a lot.
Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah. So there was
Yes.
also that was adding to it.
you'd
That
see,
was
his pants would fall down and things. He
yeah.
just was gross.
Yes.
Yeah, not all the
And
way down, but
and so there's a book that I have. This man was a clinical psychologist, but he also received huge intuitive downloads about the psychological meanings of different injuries and ailments of the body. And so like there's other books like The Body Keeps Score. That's a common book. um, Buried Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. That's a common one. Louise Hayes, she has a book. And so what, like, oh, in fact, I have this book right here. Like it's like propping up my laptop. I mean, this is the book. Oh, it's backward. Is it backwards? No. Messages from the Body.
Perfect.
oh
Okay.
wow.
So I would, if I was your coach, I would look up ankles. And in fact, I'll look up
I
ankles.
love it.
Oh
We're getting
yeah.
a little live action.
Delores Garcia
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's 2-3 pages on ankles. And what you do with this book is you read through the statements that he received intuitively, and some of them won't apply to you, but some of them will, and you'll be like, holy cow, that's totally what I felt. And especially with the reoccurrence of it. And so there's a lot of information that the physical body is trying to get out onto the surface of awareness of things that are stored in the subconscious. Yeah.
You know, what popped into my mind was without having strong ankles, you couldn't get away as fast. You know, like
True.
maybe later, some of the injuries and stuff, you know, it's like you're trying to get away, and maybe in the haste of trying to just get away, not like literally running away from them, but just get out of the house quick or whatever, or go down that road quick or whatever, and then you stumble, and because you already have weak ankles from spraining them in basketball. You know,
It's pretty deep.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, it is very intriguing, and I don't think it, um, I mean, when we start seeing the truth of it, we don't dismiss it. Like I injured my toe, and this is so stupid. Oh, my toe hurts, but like it affects me massively, and I injured it when we were going through the divorce in 2016. And toes have a lot to do with the direction that you're headed in life.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I totally can see that because that's where your feet are going. Your feet are leading you in different things. But don't discount a toe pain. I had some blisters on my toes from my half marathon a couple months ago, and it was a nightmare. It was the worst. And I had at least 4 or 5 of them.
Yes.
So they matter. My toes are like this big, but it hurt.
Yes, and my toe is stiff, and so think about how many times you bend your toe. And I got this. Yeah.
That dumb toe. Yeah. It's really the first thing that leads you too when you're walking somewhere.
And they're meant to help distribute the weight of your body so that you can move.
Yep. Let's see here. Okay, I'm comfortable now. Okay, so that I want to revisit that subconscious reprogramming. I remember what a great episode that was.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because apparently we already felt like we had enough of a bond, all of us, for you to reach out to us shortly after that when you had a life-altering tragedy. And that was what you spoke about in the next episode that aired in November, although your tragedy was in July of 2022. Mm-hmm. And that episode was called Miguel Matters. Okay. And I feel like you talked to Miguel a lot. If you want to remind us about Miguel, your son.
So about Miguel personally, or about the event, or both?
Both. I think both. Let's talk about this man that Miguel was, and then that he had to exit this earth, but he's mm-hmm. elsewhere, and I think he's free now. But he was a pretty neat guy.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, where do I even start?
Where do you start?
Yeah. Where do you start? So Miguel he was 24 when he passed, and he had a challenging human existence, and so it's been 2 years, and yeah,
he was tortured. I feel like he was tortured as a human on this earth, in this life.
Yeah.
But his spirit, his heart, his soul, now that it's free, you say that he helps you a lot, that he guides you, that he, I think some people are trapped in human psyche and human bodies and human elements, and it's just hard for so many people. And I feel it. I connect with Miguel in that he seemed like one of those.
Yeah, and there's so, like, I have so many different categories of experience, like if I just experience the murder suicide, so let's just give a real fast recap, is that my um, my son fatally wounded his dad, my former husband, with a kitchen knife. And this was on the early morning of July 4th of 2022. And then he left the house and broke into the neighbor's house and threatened them, terrorized them with that kitchen knife, and they fatally shot him. So, so two significant people in my life transitioned into non-physical that day. And, there, if I don't even know how to say this, I don't even know what the words are, is that when now 2 years later, when I think about and reflect on the human experience that my son had, um, it like, I don't even know how he lasted 24 years.
Because he was so tormented.
Yeah. And there have been, in these 2 years, there have been many experiences where I have literally felt the pain that he felt in his life.
Wow. That must be
And
just overwhelming.
it has been debilitating.
Yeah.
In many cases. When something is so like
Heavy.
Hideous, like if you came upon an awful car, like a massive car accident, and let's say that there were some of the passengers that were dismembered, and it's just carnage. It would be so awful, hideous. Hideous isn't the right word.
Just
Devastating to even look at it. Like I don't know that I could even look at it. And that's how these experiences of feeling my son's pain, and it isn't a mom feeling mother guilt, which I really hate that term because it minimizes my experience. But like I have literally felt his pain and frustration, and it's hard to look at. It yeah.
and anger. He had so much. He must have had anger to do that night. Do you feel
No,
that?
I don't feel that is
You
true.
don't feel that? Okay.
Mm-mm.
So, but yes, but just the pain of being alive for him.
Yes, yes. I think that now this is going to sound maybe a little weird. I don't think that he took Hector, his dad, um, out of violence. So that I don't feel like there was anger,
Mm.
um, and therefore I don't feel like it was violent. Like, can you have a nonviolent murder? I know that doesn't sound right.
Well, no, it does actually, because I think there's a misconception of what people think people who murder others is. They think it's out of just because they're an angry person, like they just hate people. And in reality, it's because they are so hurt from whatever is going on, mental illness, whatever is going on in their mind, and they don't know how to take care of that. So then it just comes out of them, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this was Miguel being an angry person or anything like that. He just had a lot of heaviness with him and didn't know how to take care of it.
And he wanted out. Like he had talked to me about it before, and I remember this one phone conversation, and I said, well, why don't you unalive yourself? And I didn't say it in a taunting way, like, oh, go ahead and kill yourself. It was, well, why?
Like curiosity.
What's stopping you from doing that? And
Yeah.
he told me, he said, well, Mom, it's not that I want to. And he started using the word suicide as a verb, like way when he was younger. He's like, I'm just going to suicide myself. And that was his term. He goes, well, I don't want to suicide myself. I want to not exist.
Oh
And
my God.
so you know what came into my mind? Think about Romeo and Juliet. Didn't they die? Do I remember the story correctly?
It's commonly a misconception of it being a romance, but it is in fact a tragedy.
Yes, but it
They both
wasn't violence, right? When you think of Romeo and Juliet dying, do you think of it as a violent crime?
Well, there was violence around them, but their families were violent.
But I think of love. I think of
But
love.
the actual act of how them dying was out of love and sacrifice in that way.
Right. It wasn't like Romeo had an argument and shot her out of anger or stabbed her, however they died. Like, I can't even remember the stupid story.
I think she looked like she was dead, and then was it Romeo that came over and said?
Well, so
I
don't
know.
He
was dead and then killed. You don't know.
I don't know things like this.
I mean, it's just been so long since I've done it, but I know that one of them looks like they're dead. I can't remember if it was Romeo or Juliet, and then the other one comes over and thinks that the other is dead, and then they take their own life because the other is dead.
But she's not really dead.
I can't live without this person, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's like, can your listeners please correct us on this? Like, leave it in the comments.
We're supposed to be like book nerds, and we don't know Romeo and Juliet.
Well, I don't know anything, so I think it's on you.
You're right. It totally is.
The listeners are used to me not knowing anything. So, but also, do you think, so he wanted out and he needed to do something that so bad that it would force him out, and that Hector just happened to be there?
Go ahead. Did you find it?
Sorry, I just have to do this.
Juliet
drinks a potion that makes her appear dead, and then thinking that Juliet is dead, Romeo drinks the poison, that kills him. So,
but then did she wake up again and go on with her life? Juliet?
Seeing Romeo dead, Julia stabs herself through the heart with a dagger. Okay. So they both killed themselves to be with the other.
Yes. And so my point is that it wasn't a brutal act of senseless violence. And now again, I don't know what happened that night. I don't know what happened between Miguel and Hector. I have a feeling that Miguel loved Hector and wanted him to go with him.
Okay. Needed his dad. to go with them.
Yes,
A
that's
little
one of the,
extra courage kind of thing.
yes, that is one of the theories that I have. I have some other theories of why he took Hector with him, but we'll just go with that one for right now. Okay.
Like Romeo and Juliet, they wanted to be together. Seriously, yeah.
And
Sorry,
if
the Romeo and Juliet part made me laugh. Not the
yeah,
situation, because they were made up.
Oh, they were? I thought it was his history.
no, it's Shakespeare. It's Shakespeare, Mary. I know that.
Well, it could have been based on history. Anyway, okay,
Yeah.
so that was a very touching episode, Miguel Matters, that my clients have commented on several times through the month, and probably your people that you know that
Our listeners as
our
a whole.
listeners. Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
But then a few months later, we decided to talk about forgiveness, which is a very loaded term,
Mhm.
and that is probably something that need not be talked about right at this moment, because we're here to talk about the grief and the scrambling of the signals, which we relate on, all of us. And I think it's an important topic because people expect you to be over it, and you're not, and you've lost your mind. You're like, you're not who you were, and they expect you to go back to that. But before we do that, I love my segues. I would like people to hear about the connection that you made with your nephew, because of our podcast, because that's such a sweet story, and I really want you to share that in your own words.
So I have a very large family. I'm the youngest child of 9 kids, and so there are a lot of nieces and nephews in this world. And my one of my sisters passed. Now I could be very wrong, but I think she passed in March of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So really, right before that original podcast, and she passed, and then we started our episodes, and I don't remember. Do you remember when I told you that he had reached out to me?
Just recently, like in the winter, like January or something.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. Yeah. So I recognized his name. He sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, and and really just wanted to talk to me about my sister, his mom, and who really did struggle with some very heavy mental illness, and and so he reached out to me, and we had a wonderful conversation, and really felt like we could speak truth to each other. Because and this is another thing of death and dying and grief, is that we are enculturated to not say bad things about people who are dead. But speaking to Ken, like, how do you have a funeral and say, what a guy, gosh, gonna miss ya, I
Yeah,
mean,
we focused on sports.
That's how competitive he was.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
good at sports.
And and it's like what does it matter? I mean, if they were a scoundrel in real life, like, what does it matter if you speak truth now that they're dead? I mean, does it change anything? Like, it's just a funny cultural thing that we have, that you can't speak bad about somebody who's dead. Like, why not? Like, I don't get it.
Hill of the Dead is a
I
huge
wonder
thing.
if it
Yeah.
stems from a belief that life is better than death. Like, you know, some people think that it's better to be above ground, which I do believe that too. So maybe it's like people that are dead, even though they're actually the ones that are at peace. People see that as like, well, they already are. They already have it bad because they're passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You know what I mean?
they've already got their punishment, so you need not
Yeah,
say
like they're
any
already.
more.
Even though
Okay,
I firmly believe that when people pass, they're at peace.
that's better.
I hope
I
that's
think
at
so.
least what I hope for
Yeah.
the people that have passed before me. I hope that they are at peace. All of them.
Yeah.
And I hope to be at peace when I go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Starting to look forward to it.
Yeah. I've already got my bags packed, so I'm ready.
Got your bags packed.
Sounds pretty good over there on the other side.
Why are we so sad when they go? It's like yay for them. We're sad because we're stuck here. That's why.
Yeah.
There's always
And
someone
and so
Okay.
I really admire my nephew. So he's about 20 years younger than me, maybe a little more. I can't do math. Whatever. He's younger than me, and and like I really admire him and acknowledge his effort to process through the grief because it was complicated. When you have a complicated relationship with that person who has passed, it really does change the nature of your grief journey. And, how they died, how your relationship was, and, what are you going to do about it? And so, I really did just share some very truthful things. But your podcast opened up that conversation because no more secrets. I mean, his mom did struggle with mental illness, and he was a child of that. Yeah.
He came across the podcast. He heard you sharing so openly. So he probably felt like, well, I can call her. She's open to talking about this. So
Yes.
I can connect with her. So
which is similar to how I felt kind of about you, I think, because you kind of dabbled at the fact of my dad being who he was, and we didn't like, 'cause as you know, we didn't have like that close of a relationship when I was growing up, because of the nature of who my dad was and everything. And we started to connect a little bit
before he died,
but
before
then
Grandma died.
before Grandma died, and then when my grandma died, I called her, and this is the beginning of our book, and I just had a feeling because she'd already given out that idea that she was open to speaking the truth about him and not just the sugar-coated version that everyone else in our family kind of leaned into. Which is kind of
similar. Yeah, so aunt and niece, aunt and nephew, but didn't really know him that well while he was growing up at all, right?
Right, because I must have been 18 or 19 when he was born. I don't know. Again, maybe my math is all wrong, so whatever. And but literally just I was getting ready to head out to college, or I was, at the junior college at home and then soon to leave, and they lived in a different state. And so I do remember when we adopted Miguel, we had gone up to Salt Lake, and my sister and her family lived outside of Salt Lake in Logan. And so I saw this nephew. He was just a big teenager at the time, but never, I don't remember any conversation with him.
Yeah,
so
you have that kind of relationship. And then when the adult reaches out, the young adult reaches out, it's a whole different story. You start developing your own path of communication.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a lot of the things fall away that you thought maybe were the case with this individual. Oh, she doesn't like me, she doesn't want anything to do with me because, her dad kept him away and whatever, but yet she was open to hearing. And it sounds like him too.
Yeah.
open. He wants to learn and figure things out. I feel like that's why we're here,
Yeah.
to figure out
And
why we do
and
what we do.
because we had such a unique, you know, family history, and my father ended his life in suicide when I was 4, and so that had a lot to do with, um, in my opinion, I don't know anything, but in my opinion, that had a lot to do with my sister's mental illness.
Oh,
She
yeah.
saw things and experienced things that I was spared because I was only 4, and she was probably 20. Yeah.
See the difference, right? Oh
It's a
my
big difference.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder you can't do math. She was that much older, huh? Well, I'm so glad. And that kind of got us, Katie and I, that was one of the reasons at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I really miss, we had taken a break from the podcast just for so many reasons. We
Mhm.
were doing it every single week and, just needed to establish a little more balance. So in order to do so, swing the other way for a while. But your story about your nephew was one of the things that made me realize, and I think when I shared that with you,
We were always on the same page. We just had to.
we
We
just had
just
to,
needed a break. I think.
Yeah.
and then we had to figure out how to weave it in a balanced way going forward so that we
Yeah.
didn't get but that was very touching. It was like, wow, our podcast did that, and how great. And we even had Katie just got a message from somebody else about it with somebody talking about narcissism.
Yeah.
And then,
Someone was on Facebook. And tagged us because there was someone asking him how to deal with a narcissistic family member and the abuse that comes with it, and they were looking for resources in the forms of books or whatever, and we had one of our listeners tag us in it, which
Yep.
was kind of cool.
and said there's a podcast, Nat and niece talk about it,
Yeah.
and we're like, that's us.
Yeah.
Well, what I
Yeah.
said.
Well, and so I really do owe you, big love for paving the way, because, like, why, like, he would have never heard my story. He would have, like, chances are he would have never reached out. And anytime I get a message from him or an email, it's one of those people in your life where you're like, put everything else on hold and read what they wrote, and you look forward to that, and
Oh,
you appreciate that. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
That's really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well,
So thank you.
good Lord. So let's talk about what we're really here for. We decided we were going to just let this
Talking about us.
unfold. Yeah. But really, really what we decided to call this episode is, I love what you said, which grief scrambles all the signals. The grief scrambles all the signals. And I just shortened it to grief scrambles the signals. Because when we connected about what we were going to talk about, you were saying, I don't know, meaning everything and whatever, everything is scrambled. Everything is, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your reactions. You don't trust I can't even remember how, you don't modulate is the word you use.
Yes.
And so we just decided to reconnect, and here we are, and we came up with that as a title. And one of the things that you said is, how do you respond when someone says, how are you doing? How are you, Delores?
Do you want to tell us right now?
Yeah, how are you?
Um, you know what happens? Like, I step back. Like, whenever somebody says that to me, like, if they know what happened with Hector and Miguel. So if it's just a stranger that asks me, like I can tell you, because there's no undertows to the question. But like when somebody else asks me that knows what happened, Um, I like I do this. I go
Freeze up, yeah.
What do you say?
What
like there's 100
words?
gazillion different things I could say, and none of them are true any for more than a second. Like I'm fine, but I'm not. Oh, I'm okay, but I'm not. I'm good, but I'm bad. Like,
So
yeah.
let's go over like so that for people that are listening that might be the type to ask others how they're doing and they know that there's a load that's a loaded question. Let's practice a different question, okay? So how would you think if someone came up to you that knew what you went through and the whole situation and everything said, "How are you handling your grief?" Would that be easier to respond to?
No, it still feels like I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
I think one like I've thought about this. Like, what would I like people to say to me or ask me? Because they want to. I know that they are expressing their concern and their love. I know that they're not trying to cause me mental disturbances, but it is just a flood, an overwhelming flood. Um, I think what tends to help me is making it about right here, right now. Like
Hmm.
today, um,
Is it kind of like I've had a good day, I've had a bad day, and like is that kind of where your mind goes? Like, oh, it was
yeah.
good as it could have been, or this was not a good day. Like,
Well,
is it
see,
just what?
I think part of the problem with that question is fundamentally you're asking me to evaluate something in terms of good and bad. And this is such a monstrosity of an experience that how can you really say it's good or bad?
Hmm.
It's inadequate. So I'm thinking that if somebody knows what happened, and it also depends on their relationship with me. If I haven't talked to you in the last 6 months, like
Yeah, that's super
like
weird.
how do like how do you even start talking about the experiences that I've had in the last 6 months? So, but if I talk to you 6 days ago and you say, I would want somebody to say, how what are you working on today? What are
Hmm.
you what is on the surface for you today? That that actually that's getting closer to feeling very answerable. What do you think,
I feel like you
Katie?
figured that out right as we were talking, and that was cool to see you work through it in your mind and just kind of go over all your experiences and stuff. And I think that's great, and it's good for people to know um, how to communicate with people who have gone through very traumatic events
Yeah.
and live to see the other side of it. Like it's. I think that's really important.
Yeah. And
And
what this reminds me of so I worked very closely with my angel coach, and she came on, didn't she?
we had her
Yeah.
on with
Yeah.
the Miguel one.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so
Or
she
was it
would, y-
anyway?
no, she would have been on Miguel Matters. That's
Okay.
when she was on.
Okay.
So she would say, what's rising to the surface? Is that the word she would say? She would say something. What's she says? What's coming up for you?
Hmm. Okay.
I actually
What?
think that helps with um, depression also, just in general, just because the cure to depression is not like happiness, it's hope, in my opinion, like something that you're working towards, something that you are you would like to see in the future, like hope for the future, I think is the remedy for depression,
I love it.
Hmm.
personally. I love that
Yeah.
that's like what works for you too, is because it helps you not focus on what's going on in the past. It's looking upward and
Hmm.
forward.
And it also is an invitation for things to come to light out of the darkness of your subconscious. What is coming up for you today?
So it's both. Yeah.
What is rising to the top of
Getting
your
that
awareness?
and
Hmm.
then looking forward to having that out of you and what that
Hmm.
brings, hope that that
Yeah.
brings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even with the surface thing, what would it be like if somebody just said, Dolores, good to see you? Just that. Like if they ran into you, oh, good to see you. Nice running into you. Or like let's say
Hmm.
you just had a conversation a couple weeks and then prior and then you ran into each other in the store and somebody just said, brought it to the moment, which is the truth. It's good to
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah.
Is that anything that would bother you? Or what would you say back? Oh, I'm sorry I ran into you because I don't really want to see you.
There comes
Oh,
Dolores.
well, and so let's talk about this is that I feel like I wear my grief, that experience, 24/7. And like I always want to talk about it.
Oh, interesting. Not with strangers, you mean,
Uh,
or would you?
well,
Somebody
oh
really?
yeah. So it's so interesting that we're recording this because this last week at Walmart. So for your listeners, I work for Hallmark, and I have a an assigned set of stores that I go in and merchandise all the cards and the gift wrap. And so I was in my Walmart and two times this last week, and both on each of those occasions, I had significant conversations with absolute random strangers. But the thing is, like this lady that I talked to just a couple days ago, old gal like me, and she, it is very interesting that people share things with me in Walmart that you go, I really can't believe that I'm having this conversation. But she is sharing about her grief journey. Her second husband he passed October of 2022, and she was buying him some flowers for his grave, some dried flowers. And she's talking about her grief journey. And she said several times, I don't know why I'm telling you this. And I'm like, well, I do, because I'm Dolores, and I I am a grief magnet. I don't know. I like why? Why are these people telling me this? I am the Hallmark girl in Walmart of all places, but people energetically can feel that. And when I'm listening to this lady, people going through their grief want to talk about it. They don't want to be silenced.
Mhm.
And it was just so interesting. I'm like, oh, okay. That she goes, I just don't know why I'm telling you this. And I'm like, well, I do. I understand it.
Is this new since the grief of Miguel and Hector, or were you a magnet to that type of thing prior to their passing?
Well, I didn't. I started working. Yeah, I'd say since they passed. Yeah,
So they can sense your level of grief, and it's a safe place
yeah,
because you understand it,
yes,
and it won't be downplayed or poo-pooed with the amount of
yeah.
grief you've got that you're wearing, even if it's something they sense.
Hmm.
It's a safe place to not be poo-pooed,
Yeah.
you know?
And the previous experience, it was a young girl. She told me she was 25. And she starts talking about um, her, her brother had ended his life in suicide. And we continued our conversation. And then it turned out that her sister had been murdered. And she was talking about her mother. So her mother has lost two children. And this young lady was talking to me and she goes, "My mom's not the same." And I was like, "Yeah, I can understand that. Your mom is not the same."
And won't ever be,
No,
won't happen.
no. So, so we talk about grief scrambling the signals. And whereas it's very disconcerting when it's happening and you're experiencing it, what I'm trying to remind myself is that it is um, catalytic. It does feel catastrophic, but it's actually catalytic. Is that
It's
those experiences are catalysts for change, and we have gone through those experiences because there's a benefit for us changing. And it,
good. You're talking good change because it could also
well,
be a catalyst to make you less than what you were.
yes,
It, it's a
I have a premise
thought.
that all catalysts are for
Good.
the higher perspective, that from the higher perspective, that it is for our benefit.
Got it.
Sometimes it's a little harder to figure those ones out, but like the experiences that you ladies had, each individually and then together, and my experience, was it enjoyable? No, it sucked. It really, really, really sucked, and it still does. But I that is my the hope that I hang on to is that this is catalytic for something greater, and this is the only way we can get to something greater.
Yeah, but like you said, it sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to be that person. I don't want to
Uh-uh.
be the person who lost the person she was planning to be with for the rest of her life. I don't want to
Hmm.
be that person. I don't like it. I don't like
Yes.
it's a lonely place. I'm young for that to happen. You know, when you're 85 and you have all these widow friends, that's one thing. People are
Hmm.
going through it. It's expected. It's still awful. It's still really hard. But when you're 57 years old and your entire future of what you were thinking you had is done, it you're lonely. You're 57, and yet you don't want to go dating people. You've been with someone 31 years, and I try to go with that bigger, that it's made me who I am. It's made me better. It's made me whatever it's made me. I don't know what it's made me, but it's definitely made me feel more than I've ever felt, for better or for worse. Um, but I don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to
No.
play anymore. I want him back.
I want off this ride.
Do over, do over. I want him back.
Yes.
No.
But I'm going to quote you ladies because you said having the experiences that you had with Ken is that you've written a book and published a book and you have your podcast that has made significant impact on people.
And there's no way that would have happened without Ken,
No.
meaning the problems of Ken,
Yes. And
Yeah.
so, like, I'm telling you that there are days that my hands are slippery and not hanging on to that hope and that belief that this is all going to come for good. That what I experienced with my dad, with Hector and Miguel, like I I like I'm begging the universe. I have to believe that this is going to be for a higher purpose and it's going to have a benefit and a personal evolution that I could not have experienced. But I'm telling you right now, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I think what we need are more people around where we could just reach out and say, okay, things suck right now. But somebody that really gets what that means. And I don't have enough of that where I can just say one sentence and be like, when I say I'm missing Terry right now, everything that entails, somebody that really understands and that can switch gears quick enough. I mean, how can you expect this of people that they really get, like, the knife is twisting right now is what I'm trying to say. Right now I feel like I can't, and I got this going on, but I still got to do my life and I don't want to stop my life, so I just need to say it to somebody
Yes.
who doesn't say, oh yeah, I have a friend who lost her husband too, or whatever, like minimize it, or everybody
Yes.
goes through something. I hate that one. Everyone goes through something. Well, that doesn't
Yes.
happen, because yes, that's true, but it's not, that means none of us are allowed to say anything that's hard.
Or how about, oh, are you still having a hard time with that?
Yeah, the condescension. Oh my gosh.
You still going through that? You know,
Aren't you over that yet?
you know,
No.
just stuff like that. And so I think if we had a word, it's like a SOS, flag or something, like I just need a moment. I need a moment.
I had one of those past week actually, about my dad.
Okay.
Because of sports. So obviously that's how I connected with him. That was how he was good. Okay. And I was always into sports because of that, and I could always get along with him on those things. And I've been watching a lot of women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark, and it's bringing up those old memories of when I used to play basketball. And I had a moment when Matt, my husband, and we went out for a burger or something, and we were talking about Caitlin Clark, and I was like, this it's in this moment that I miss my dad, and he knows that the whole situation with him is obviously very complicated and stuff, but I was very sincere about it. Like, I meant it. I missed him in that moment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that he did so many different things, but I still miss him. I still miss him from time to time.
Yes. And being able to talk and understanding that the whole grief journey is just full of so many contradictions, and that's okay, because that's what it is. It's just,
scrambles the signals.
It scrambles the signals. Yeah.
Wow, I miss him. Wow, I love him. Wow, I wish you were here to talk about Caitlin Clark right now. And I mean, but yet I was terrified of him, and he made me so mad, and I didn't want to speak to him. So talk about scrambled signals.
Yes.
Yes. And then in grief, then they die before any of that's resolved. And that's even worse. So yeah, you're all scrambled up. Besides having shitty ankles.
Just throw the ankles on top of all of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love that.
There is a visual that came to me really, like, I think that we hadn't even buried Hector yet. And there was a visual that came to me, and it is the mosaic. So you know what mosaic art is that you have broken pieces of vases or tile or glass or whatever, and you are creating a new piece of beautiful art. And I truly feel like that's what my life is. So whether it's the scattered, and the awful signals that are all screwed up, it's your life has been shattered. You dropped, the vase fell off the shelf and shattered into a million pieces, and it's never going to be a vase again, but you can use those pieces into something else. And
Maybe even mosaics often are things that are beautiful. I mean, maybe something beautiful can be made out of those pieces.
Yeah. So if I write my memoir of the event, that's the title of it, The Mosaic Heart.
Oh, I like it. Because your heart is shattered, but it's still there. It kind of looks like a heart because you sent me that. We have that. I have that image you
Picture.
sent.
Yeah.
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 And it still looks like a heart, but it definitely is shattered and put back together in a different way than it ever was before.
Yeah.
And
Because it's never gonna be the same.
yeah.
It never is going to be the same. It's different. So maybe that's the only answer to how are you doing, or how are you? I'm different. Like that is the only word that I can come up with that even comes close to describing how I am. I'm different. Like,
Or maybe we could answer in the moment. Like you said, if the question were posed in the moment, that would be great. But maybe since it isn't, it could be something like at this particular moment I'm good enough, or I'm functioning. At this particular moment I'm upright. My feet are in front of me.
I was thinking there's like in the corporate world, usually it's like people saying, "Oh, I'm living the dream," like really sarcastically.
really
Like
sarcastic.
it's super. You could just tell that they are not living the dream.
Living my best life. Love my job. Love it. Love my job.
Or a little while ago, there were memes of when they ask, "How are you doing?" I'm doing the best, Bob. I'm doing the best I can, And I mean, it's the same thing. And really, it is the truth. Is that I'm doing the best that I can, one day
or
at a time.
or we could just be honest. If we don't ever want them to speak to us again, we could say, well, life sucks. I hate it. And, you know, I feel like crap. How's that for you? Is your day any better
Thanks for asking.
It would probably work, honestly. That's a bit of a sometimes, which is funny. But I mean, to be fair, there's just some people that can't handle that. They can't handle that kind of candor.
Yeah, like it sucks. I hate it.
Some people don't know how to react to that.
Yeah, it's anyway. Yeah, I don't know. That's a very loaded question. In fact, speaking of questions, who was the person that you said when we had our conversation prior to today that somebody said I didn't know what to say, but I just wanted to say something?
It
Was
was
that in
my nephew. It was my nephew.
That's
Yeah.
right.
he
So
didn't know
that,
how to reach out to you. Okay.
hmm and he said it on the 2 year mark of their passing. He's like, I'm sure that this day is horrendous for you. I don't really know what to say, but I just wanted to say something. And that it took an immense amount of compassion and also bravery. Like, I absolutely do acknowledge him for his courage, because, like, opening up that can of worms with Aunt Dolores, egads, let's just talk about some hard things. Let's talk about, suicide, mental illness, murder, suicide, grief journey. Yeah. And like, I really do acknowledge his courage for even starting the conversation. But it really does show that he has courage to heal and find resolution to his challenges. And I think that
That's a
people
neat thing
who's,
to say,
yeah,
on a, especially on an anniversary of something like that, where you can say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here and I just want to say something, or be something for you. That's neat. That's a very evolved young man there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Huh.
because I think that's all it takes. It's just the effort sometimes. Like it's not the saying the right thing or whatever. It's just the genuine caring about someone and wanting to give them an outlet to talk about it. You know,
that's right. That's
Hmm.
I
right.
want to I want to ask about. So I understand this as like a someone who grieves the anniversary, because the anniversary always seems to be a very poignant time of when it happens. Since Miguel's and Hector's were on the 4th of July, do you, around that time of year, get, because it's such a significant date, it's a holiday, when fireworks are going off, do you start to like relive some of those memories? Like, or like people are holding up flags, like does that already start to bring about those feelings of maybe of the grief or what you felt back then when it was happening, or is it not something you think about?
Um, I think that just it being on, I mean, on any particular day, like, it just happened to be on a holiday. Um, but if it was just on a random Tuesday in the middle of August, it would have, I think that you still commemorate that day. But to be sure, the 4th of July was both Hector and Miguel's absolute favorite holiday. Absolute favorite holiday. And so I don't think that I don't know. I kind of look at it as it was the day they gained their freedom from this human experience, you know.
That was their favorite holiday?
Yeah.
They would what? Go get fireworks or go to fireworks or celebrate all weekend?
They they would, and I mean, even before Miguel came, it was Hector's favorite holiday. And I liked it okay, but they would go and spend a couple $100 and get fireworks to do in their, on their own little display. And then, Hector has a great childhood of and memories of they would climb up on the roof of their childhood house. And because where that city would light off their fireworks was in the park pretty close to their house. And so they would just go sit on the roof and watch the fireworks. And that was their favorite thing to do. And I did it. I did it too. I sat up on their roof.
So
So,
you so you're saying past tense. Does it affect how you feel about the holiday now? Do you still do 4th of July activities?
well, no, well, um, I'm an antisocial person.
I
So
get
number one, I I don't really have friends that I hang out with here in Phoenix. And so, like, I'm not going to go somewhere by myself because the traffic is awful. But yeah, that's one of the biggest changes that I've noticed is that I don't really know how to maintain relationships, and I don't know if I just don't care or I just don't know how to because I'm so different. And yeah,
And the dichotomy of the celebratory nature of the Fourth of July, and in your case, Christmas Day, is when Ken died. You know, everybody's up. For the and not everyone, but that's what you see. You see up. You see parties. You see celebrations.
That's
you
what I was
see
trying to get
lights.
to,
You
is that
see
yeah,
it's such a conflicting time because it's like a happy time for the vast majority of people in the country or that religion, whatever. And then it's, meanwhile, you're
you're approaching a really dark
you're
memory.
remembering a dark memory, yeah. And it's
And
mhm,
then the you know, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. You know, we had his funeral on January 2nd. We were planning the funeral on, you know, on January 1st, you know, and all that. So, you know, and all the lights and the beauty and the joy and the love.
The music
and then,
used to trigger me.
yeah, and then
Right
the
when it
same.
first started in December, like immediately as soon as I started hearing it, like the first couple of years especially, I would just remember and immediately be brought into my grief like so strongly that I would start crying, and it's all that stuff.
And
It's
again, it's
weird.
supposed to be happy. It could be a joyous, you know, joy to the
mhm,
world. And you're crying, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
crying.
Christmas was like my favorite holiday, and like it still is, honestly, but
yeah.
it's tainted.
And the same with
Well,
the
and so
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that that's a really mm, um, profound thing to realize, especially people going through grief journeys. Like, I'm comparing it to me is that I'm not a very celebratory person anyway. I never really have been. And so it didn't impact me like that. So it's just a matter that it was the day that they passed. It doesn't make it any harder for me that it was July 4th. So,
okay.
but I can understand. Like, my mom, she passed around the time right before Thanksgiving, the year she passed, and so it just coincides. It doesn't it doesn't really taint it for me, but it's because of me. I never really have been a big celebrations kind of person. Yeah.
But the people around you, the energy around you, is so celebratory.
Well, it doesn't, but
That doesn't.
it doesn't bother me because I never have been part of that.
You've never really even been attuned to that. Okay, yeah.
No, no. And most of the time, holidays irritate me, to tell you the honest truth.
You know,
They,
exactly.
yeah.
And now, yeah, the whole thing just seems like a big interruption.
Yes,
All the
it like I used to just think that I was a big party pooper, and really maybe I am, but no, they just irritate me. I think there's um it
says the Hallmark girl.
yeah. Yeah, I know it. I know, like, my paycheck is based on the holidays. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, yeah.
That's actually really funny.
It really is kind of funny. Like, I get paid based on that.
Hey, it's a huge industry and it's stable, so who cares, you know?
Because there's plenty of people that do celebrate the holidays.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Something for them
Well,
to do.
we've already put up Christmas ornaments in Walmart. It's July, people, and
I
Oh
like,
my God.
yeah, and
still have
so
Halloween and Thanksgiving to get through, okay?
We haven't even gotten
And Labor Day if you
Labor Day.
celebrate.
Yeah.
and so, like, people give me a hard time. Like, I'm setting up this Christmas display,
And
and
people
I
are like,
go,
no.
well, the truth of the matter is, people, you thought Santa Claus controlled Christmas. It's really Hallmark. Hallmark is majorly in control of your holidays. And they're like, oh, that's so true. And I'm like, yes, it is true.
Honestly,
Corporations.
why don't we just leave it up all year? What the hell?
I do have lights that I leave up all year.
Oh, you do?
I don't always
White
light
ones?
them. No, I don't leave them on. They're just on my fireplace, but I don't leave them on. Well, sometimes I put them on just because I feel I want like the lights.
Christmas in July.
Exactly. Color, you know.
So, what do you mean when you say you don't trust yourself and you don't modulate? If you're antisocial, how does that relate? If you're not really in a lot of social settings, where does the fact that you don't trust yourself come out? With
Like
yourself?
Well, when I am interacting with people, and it takes a gargantuous amount of energy, and like if I don't feel like my head is clear, like I really don't want to be around people, and it creates just so much stress for me. So yeah, and it's because I mean I don't know that maybe some people could understand this because they experience it, but like I have to be able to trust myself, um, or I just can't be around people. So I think it has a lot to do with struggling so many years in darkness and heaviness and depression, is that people don't want to be around you when you're depressed. And so if I could not keep my facade up, I would not be around people. Because it's a ridiculous thing, because people try to say, oh, just be honest and people will accept you how you are. No, that's not true. It's not true, because people don't want to be around you when you're depressed.
Not
And
for long.
so,
Maybe
no,
for a minute, but then shoop, out they go. Yeah.
that's exactly right. And that depresses you even further because nobody wants to be around you. And so it actually was, even though it was self-isolation, it was actually being uh, gentle with myself. I don't want you to reject me because I'm feeling depressed. So it's just better that I stay home and not pretend and not rain on your parade. And it's a big cycle. So it's many years of protecting myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the not trusting yourself, like for me, I don't trust how I'm going to react. I might think I'm having a good enough day, but then something triggers
Yeah.
me, and but then things come out of my mouth that never used to. I used to be such the good little girl, never want to hurt anyone's feelings, try to say keep the peace, kind of thing, what we were taught. And now sometimes stuff I say, it's mean or thoughtless, or sometimes it's warranted, but I say it when it really need not be said in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
where and I'm like, did that just come out of my mouth? And I think it's like I don't have control of my emotions sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
Do you beat yourself up about that, or is it more of like, you know what? It's fucking time. It's about time that I do this.
Yeah, a lot of, I would say, majority of it is feeling pretty good about it, because I'm like, I was silenced for so long. I regret sometimes the circumstances, in which it needed to come out, but maybe not right at that moment, and to shock that person. But it needed to come out, and usually it ends up being okay, because I'm finding that I think I'm probably meaner than I think I'm meaner than I really am, because we were taught that anything was was bad if you rocked the boat, but really what you're just being is normal.
Yeah, people can handle like little fluctuations here and there and stuff like that. People can handle that.
You know, it's not all or nothing. Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean you're a bad person, you know,
right.
kind of thing, how we were taught. But, you know, like one lady came in to get a massage, and I know her, but she's not my customer anymore. She was, but now she lives out of town and just comes in once in a while to get a massage. And she came in and said to me that she doesn't like being here in Libertyville. She said, I don't spend much time here anymore because I don't like Libertyville. And I said, so why do you even come here then? And it wasn't even my customer. And Sherry's like, my massage therapist is like, you know, I said, I mean, don't waste your time and come here if you don't like it here. Why would you even come here? And she goes, well, to see nice people like she said at the time, like you and Sherry. I said, surely that can't be enough of a reason to come to a place you hate. And I was just like attacking her for no reason. But she was there and she said that to me and I just started to attack. She goes, I don't know, I guess I'm just tired of Libertyville. And I go, then why? Then there's got to be other massage therapists. And poor Sherry, who needs the money, she's like, and this is what I mean about why am I picking a fight right now with this person who it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know, but it felt.
Well, and sometimes it, to find your voice, you have to practice sometimes. So maybe we can just chalk that up to a little bit of practice. It was absolutely innocent, you know, no harm, no foul. And it was a practice of, wow. Yeah.
That felt pretty good because then she says, you know, I guess I'm just over all the Libertyville stuff. And I'm like, doesn't your daughter live in Libertyville with 4 grandkids? You know, like I just kept going because she was like doing this, but she was waiting for someone to get out of her room so she could have them pay, reschedule them, and then make the sheets. So she was running way behind, even though she was listening at that moment. So I was stuck with this person in front of me and I just wasn't going to let it go, you know, and I said, and then, didn't you just have a shower for your other daughter at Main Street in downtown Libertyville? I said, is it awful, so awful here that you wouldn't want to have the shower? You know, like I just wouldn't let it go. And she was like, I think after a while, she was like, I'll never, ever say anything to you again. Yeah. And I was like, mission accomplished. But that's right. I felt bad. Now, this person has been somebody that's gotten under on my nerves through the years, and somebody that's a very strong personality and in past years has mowed me over, especially when she was a paying customer of mine. Mm-hmm. And so I think it just, like you said, I was just tired of being mowed over and walked on and being the good little girl saying the right thing. I didn't have to. She's not a customer of mine. You're in my place of business. You're telling me you don't like my town. You don't like this place, you know, and I thought, well, you know, let her rip. But I didn't plan it. It just kind of came out. Yeah. And maybe I needed to practice. And she still goes, she comes and she just makes a beeline right to Sherry's room and doesn't talk to me.
Well, and I think Katie's question is really valid. If you're going to beat yourself up for it, that's one thing. If you can evaluate it that, gosh, I'm just practicing, I can find my voice, that I don't have to chew her up and spit her out, but I can still speak my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. And really it's what it came down to, because Sherry ultimately said, you really weren't that mean. You were just stating a fact. You were asking questions. Well, don't your grandchildren live here, and don't you spend time here? I don't understand. You came across more like you didn't understand. Mm-hmm. You know,
it's the best way to be condescending to someone, honestly.
With your head like stupid.
It's so interesting how things.
Let them tell on themselves. You know, it's the best way to be condescending.
You know, ask them. It's interesting how two people can think so differently about the same place, because I just think this place is wonderful. You know, something like that. You know, where you get them.
I would hope you do. You don't leave it.
I don't go anywhere. So
this is your world.
I know, she walked into my whole world
and started
she was over it.
What a nightmare.
But anyway, I'm quickly becoming a person that I used to be known as, oh, Mary's so sweet. She's so nice. She's so this, so da da da. And I'm really not. I'm just the same as everyone else. I can be crabby. I can be short with you. I'm human. You can't expect me. And now, with everything I've been through and everyone that knows what I've been through, I can't hide it. It takes too much energy to hide it.
Mhm.
So with my peeps here at the loft, I just don't hide it anymore. And I'm finding it's actually okay. It's
Yeah.
okay, you know?
Yeah, there was a couple of things that happened back to back to back, and like in my previous experience, I would have just beaten myself up and given me all the more reason to be dark and heavy that day. And like all I could do, like I'm sitting in my Jeep driving, and oh, I was supposed to meet my Hallmark team at one store, and I went to the wrong Walgreens. I'm like 20 minutes. I'm like, wow, Dolores, you didn't even get close to where you were supposed to be. And I'm like 20 minutes late. And I just walk in, and it's my boss, and I'm like going, wow, I was so human. And that's all I could say is I didn't apologize. I didn't go, oh, I'm so stupid. I was like, I am just so human. This is hilarious. Like I go to the wrong store, and she's like, well, I told you the wrong address. No, you didn't. I looked on the calendar wrong. And I went to the store that we're supposed to go to next week. I went to the wrong store, and I just walk in, and it was hilarious to me. I was like, I'm just so human. I'm just so human. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
I
And
like it.
there and so like I'm hearing that from you is that, you know what, we're not nice people, we're not kind people. I'm just human. Some days I'm kind, some days I'm crabby. I'm just
Someone
human.
someone actually asked me a couple months ago at work, or they didn't ask me, but they had already gotten to know me a little bit, and they're like, "You seem like a good person, right?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends on who you ask." I mean, because I know for a fact that there's people that in my life didn't like me for whatever reason, and it's not because I didn't try to be a good person, but like everyone's opinion of you is like none of my business, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they don't
Yeah.
like me, there's nothing I can really do about it unless they put an effort forward, and then I can try to make an effort back. But even then, there's some people I don't want to. I don't need to put an effort with you because it's not worth your energy to like focus on the people that don't want, that just don't like you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it depends on who you ask. Some people do like me. Some people think I'm a good person. Some people probably don't.
Well,
Independent.
and really, I think your opinion of you is really the only valid thing to start working with. If you don't think that you're a good person, or you are not feeling good about yourself, that's where the work starts. That's
It doesn't
all.
matter, right, what
Yeah.
that person says. So yeah. But yeah, getting back, I've been doing a lot more of that with because the grief is so prevalent that I don't have time or energy to modulate, like you said. I don't have energy to modulate.
Yeah.
I'm just showing up today, you know.
And so maybe, I mean, really, ladies, I think that we can look at that as a higher perspective gift. I don't think that it serves us to show up a certain way. It serves us to show up as we are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Otherwise, right? Because
My job, my job is just to do life the most Dolores way possible.
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And otherwise, you won't show up because if you're expected to always be a certain way, then I don't want. Then there's times when I don't want to show up. So
Yeah.
but as a business owner, I kind of have to. So I just show up crabby. It's fine.
Yeah. And the thing is that when you are crabby and it is fine, you're less crabby because you're not
Right.
crabby about being crabby. You're okay being
Yeah.
crabby, and it
And people
changes it.
accept it. The healthy people accept it.
Yeah.
The healthy people in your lives understand that that's part of being human for all of us. It's the unhealthy people, like we grew up with, that tried to dictate our reactions to things. And
Yes.
well, anyway, oh, Dolores, we could just talk forever. We'll have you on next week again.
Okay.
Seriously, though, is there anything
Yeah, anything that you want to just kind of
say to wrap it up, or something that's come to mind? I did pose a question. Do you think there's a path back to less scrambling, less mind chaos, or is
But I
that
feel like
even a goal? We've kind of already covered that.
she's
Huh?
already kind of talked about that. Like,
Yeah.
like that's what you hope for, that there's
Yeah.
something good to come, that because otherwise it's hard to keep going.
Even if
Right.
it's in another realm or like another lifetime or another purpose that we don't
Well,
understand.
yeah, and that, I just feel like I'm putting my mosaic together. I'm not sure how it's going to look and how it's all going to come together, but that's the only thing that I can hang on to, is that it will.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm different now. Life is different now. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the mosaic is. I say that it's the mosaic heart and I envision that that's how it's going to look, but I don't know. I just saw a picture the other day of these artisans made a mosaic picture on the riser of stairs. So it's an outdoor staircase in, a forest or whatever. And they made a mosaic tile picture on the riser part of the stairs. And I am like, oh my goodness, I'm becoming obsessed about mosaic art because that's what I feel like my life is. I'm not sure exactly what it is going to look like, but I hang on to the belief that it will look like something and it will be something.
You're currently in just one of the tiles of your mosaic. You haven't zoomed out yet to see the full picture.
That's right. That's right.
You still got time for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm not dead yet. So I guess.
Started anyway. That's what I always say. When people say, I turned 60 a couple weeks ago on July 3rd, and people say, oh, how are you doing or whatever. And I said, it's same as 59. And then they say, well, it beats the alternative. And I said, are you sure about that?
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I mean, that, and our grief journey really is very, very influenced by our, like I look forward to my death. I look forward to the next page. Yeah. Yeah.
Sleep.
This is something I've thought about in regards to death, and then we can kind of wrap it up and stuff. But I think about like aging and how people are so nervous about aging, and with wrinkles, with grays, with just general body changes, and you're just not as youthful as you used to be and stuff. But I kind of I'm looking forward to, when I'm older in a hospital bed or whatever it is, looking at my hands, and this is going to sound weird, and just seeing all the lines that were etched into it from however many, from whatever I got to experience in life, and just know that I experienced what I could. Because that's what you see, is you see you're not looking in a mirror as you're dying, you just see what's in front of you, and I'm like,
that's my life.
I hope when my hands are shriveled and old, I can remember that it's because they experienced a full life.
Yeah.
And then get ready to move on to the next thing.
Well, and that is my understanding, and my philosophy is that we're here to experience it. And Some of us got to experience some very unique things. And what are you going to do now? I think that's maybe my concluding thought is, okay, what am I going to do now?
Hmm.
Okay, I like that.
I do. That was perfect. Good way
Yeah.
to wrap it up. So we will say goodbye for now.
Thank you
Yes.
again for joining us, for telling us all these not only stories but just wisdom. I think you're really good at that, and I always feel a little bit better leaving these conversations, no matter how dark the topic.
Yeah, me too.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Feel free to hang on too if you want to for a little while, but I
Okay.
mean, you can say
Thank
till
you
next time,
thank
everybody.
you for watching.
Yeah.
I love seeing
Let's
all
go back and forth. Ready? Left, right, left, right.
Toodaloo, everybody.
Toodaloo.